So good morning once again, dear students of class 11 and also the students of class 12. So I hope all of you enjoyed your holidays, and I hope that you have also done good progress with your projects, and I'm sure that by 5th of November your projects are going to be ready. And let me remind you once again that the projects can be either handwritten or typed and printed, but you have to keep the hard copies ready by 5th of November. And 5th of November is not the date for submission. 5th of November is the last date for you to finish the projects. The circular will soon be given and you will have to submit the projects according to the dates provided to you. So wait for the announcement and come and submit your projects accordingly. Now let's once again continue with the Tempest, and we had finished up to page 54 in your textbook. So please take out your textbooks and get ready for page 55 and 56. Now on your screen you will see I'm scrolling up to page 55, and we are in Act 2, Scene 1 of the Tempest, and you can follow the text even from here, otherwise you can follow it from your textbook. Now see, we know that while Gonzalo and Adrian were trying to cheer up the king, King Alonso of Naples, who was sad, who was upset because he believed that he had lost his son, we could see how Antonio and Sebastian were making fun of Gonzalo, particularly Gonzalo, the honest old counselor from Naples. So in tune with that, let's continue and see what happens next. Antonio says, oh widow Dido, widow Dido. Okay, so you are talking about widow Dido. Yes, widow Dido. Gonzalo says, is not, sir, my doublet as fresh as the first day I wore it? I mean, in a sort. Gonzalo ignores the comment of Antonio and he says, is not my dress. He's referring to his garment. You can see the meaning given alongside. Doublet means close-fitting body garment with or without sleeves. We are talking about the upper garment worn by a man. So, is not my dress or my jacket. You can just in simpler terms refer to a doublet as a jacket. So, is not my jacket looking as fresh as when I wore it on the very first day? I mean, in a sort. I mean, in a kind of, in that sense, if we speak, it's looking very fresh. So, he's trying to once again reiterate the fact that their dresses are fresh. Antonio says, that sort was well fished for. Well, it seems that this guy thought up what to say in a very clever way. So, in a sort, he has said in a sort, and so he's making comment on the word sort. In a sense, well, he did really choose the word very cleverly. Gonzalo says, when I wore it at your daughter's marriage, he's referring to the marriage of Claribel, the princess of Naples, who was married to the African king. So, I wore this doublet at the marriage of your daughter. Alonso says, you cram these words into mine ears against the stomach of my sense. You are thrusting these words, forcing them into my ears. I don't want to listen to them, but you are cramming these words into my ears against the stomach of my sense. Stomach means hunger, but in this case it refers to eagerness. I am not eager to listen to you. I don't want to listen to your words. You are forcing these words into my ears, whereas I don't show any inclination or any interest or any eagerness to listen to your words. Would I had never married my daughter there. Would in William Shakespeare's writing means I wish. Remember, would means I wish. So he says, I wish I had never married my daughter there in Tunis. I wish that I had not decided to marry my daughter off with the king of Tunis. Because if I had not taken this decision, then today I would not have been here. That is what he means to say. For coming thence, my son is lost. Because I took this wrong decision of marrying my daughter off with the African king, and so we made a voyage across the Mediterranean Sea to go all the way from Italy to Africa, and while returning we suffered this disaster and I lost my son. The ship went down and my son was killed. So it was a wrong decision on my part to have married my daughter with the king of Tunis. So this is what he means to say. And in my rate, she too, who is so far from Italy, removed. And if I rate it correctly, or if I can judge, or if I can assume correctly, I have not only lost my son who is now dead, I have in a way lost my daughter also, because she is married in such a faraway land that I may not be able to meet her ever again. So this is what he means to say. Who is so far from Italy removed, because she is so far away from Italy. Now that she has started her new life in Africa, and Africa is so far away from Italy, it seems that I shall never again be able to see her. So in a way, I have lost both my son and my daughter. Now I am all alone in this world. So the king is very upset, and the king is regretting his decision to have married his daughter to the African king. So then he says, I never again shall see her. So that's what I explained just now. O thou, mine heir of Naples and of Milan, what strange fish hath made his meal on thee? O my successor, one who would have succeeded me to the throne of Naples and also Milan. Because after having helped Antonio to get rid of his brother Prospero, Antonio and Milan came under the jurisdiction of Naples. Naples was a kingdom and Milan was only a small dukedom. So, though Antonio was the Duke of Milan, he was no longer independent, nor was Milan. Milan was now under Naples. Therefore, when Alonso says these lines, he is referring to his dead son Ferdinand, or at least that is what he thinks, that his son Ferdinand is dead. So he says, my heir means successor, one who would have succeeded me, to the throne of Naples and eventually also become the governor of Milan. Oh, what a strange fish is probably now feeding on your dead body inside the sea. Some kind of sea fish, some kind of strange fish or sea creature is now making a food out of your dead body. So, or has already made a food out of your dead body. Hath made his meal on thee. You are gone forever from my life. He is so upset, he is lamenting. That word, that particular word, oh, is a lamentation, remember. So the king is upset, the king is crying, the king is feeling very upset that he has lost his son, his successor, and he has lost his daughter also, because he'll never be able to see his daughter again. This realization has come to him now. After having married her off in a far off place, now the king is able to realize what a mistake he has made. So Francisco is another of the two lords with the king, along with Gonzalo, Adrian and Francisco. So now Francisco speaks up and he says he is also trying to console the king. He is also not against the king. He is also loyal to the king. So maybe not as much as Gonzalo, but Adrian and Francisco are also trying to somehow sympathize with the king and somehow trying to cheer him up. They are doing their level best, making all possible effort to cheer up their king. So Francisco says, giving hope to the king, "Sir, he may live. Sir, I believe that your son could be alive. I saw him beat the surges under him, because with my own eyes, I have seen how he was trying to swim after falling into the sea. When our ship capsized and when the prince fell into the stormy waters of the sea, he was swimming, and the waves or the surges, he was trying to beat them down with his strokes. So there is a possibility that he could be alive. Let's not start thinking that he is already dead because we cannot see him. He could be alive. Maybe he has managed to stay afloat and has managed to reach some other part of this island. So we must search for him. That's what he is trying to indicate. And ride upon their backs. He was riding upon the backs of the huge waves. He was not sinking. He was not drowning. He was not going underwater. He was trying to stay afloat even in the stormy waters. He trod the water, whose enmity he flung aside. This is the description of how he was trying to swim. He was walking as if walking or stepping on the water and pushing it aside the enmity. The water was behaving like an enemy, was trying to swallow him, but he was pushing it aside and breasted the surge most swollen that met him. And with his breaststroke, swimming has many different forms. You must have heard of the breaststroke, where you make use of the power of your chest against the water. So he says that he was trying to overcome even the largest of the waves, even the most swollen of the waves that he met as he was trying to swim. He tried to overcome even that. His bold head above the contentious waves he kept. And all the time, he tried to keep his head above the surface of the water, above the waves. Never for once did he give up. He was swimming and fighting to stay afloat and keep his head above the water. And oared himself with his good arms in lusty stroke to the shore. And with his strong arms, he was oaring, just like the oars are used in a boat to move forward. In the same way, he was making his body move forward by means of his strong arms, which he was using. He was using his arms to swim towards the shore of this island, that over his wave-worn basis bowed as stooping to relieve him. And the shore of this island, you know that in the seashore what happens? The shore gradually slopes down inside the water, and even underwater, for some time you can feel the shoreline under your feet. If you are walking towards the sea from the seashore, you will go deeper and deeper and deeper. Your body will sink little by little into the water, but there is still some ground underneath. So that sloping ground of the seashore is being referred to here. So try to understand what I am explaining. He says that As your son was swimming towards the shore, what was the shoreline doing? The shoreline seemed to be stooping. That sloping nature of the seashore is said to be stooping or bending, as if to relieve him, receive him and relieve him from the attack of the sea water. The shoreline was stretching out underneath the water and was trying to give him relief so that he could come upon the shore. Understood? So this is what he says he had seen. Now Alonso says, so I not doubt, so he completes his speech. He says, I not doubt he came alive to land. So I have no doubt absolutely, sir, that your son Ferdinand reached this island alive. He did not die. But Alonso is not ready to believe him. He is moaning, lamenting, crying. He is so upset. And so he cries out and says, no, he is gone. No, my son is not alive. He is already gone. He is dead. Sebastian says, sir, you may thank yourself for this great loss. See the nature of Sebastian. Whereas Adrian and Francisco and Gonzalo, 3 people are trying to console the king, to give him some hope. Look at the nature of the king's own brother. Sir, you may thank yourself. He is being very sarcastic. Look at this comment he is making. He is saying, you may thank yourself, sir, for this great loss. You are responsible. In other words, you are responsible for this loss. This great loss which you have suffered, for that you can blame yourself. So with that we move to the next page, that is page 56. And we continue with Sebastian's speech. He says, that would not bless our Europe with your daughter. You were not ready to bless any part of Europe, any kingdom of Europe, any dukedom of Europe, any prince of Europe or any king of Europe with your daughter. You could have easily married your daughter off with some European king or prince. But what did you do? You decided, no, I will marry off my daughter with an African prince. And went all the way from the continent of Europe to the continent of Africa, and there you left her. Okay, fine, she's married there, that's okay. But the thing is that she's gone from Europe. She could have been here, and Europe would have been blessed because she was such a beautiful woman. So, you did not bless our Europe with your daughter, but rather lose her to an African. Your decision was to give away your daughter to an African prince. Why? Were there any shortages, or was there any shortage of any eligible king or prince here in Europe that you had to take your daughter all the way to Africa and marry her off there? So that was entirely your decision, and that was a wrong decision. Where she at least is banished from your eye. So now what is her condition? She is living in an exile. Banished. Banished means to be in an exile. So she is banished or exiled from your eyes. You cannot see her now. Even if you want to see her, you won't be able to see her whenever you want. Who hath cause to wet the grief on it. And she has enough reason to be upset, to miss home, to miss her father, and to weep, to cry, to make her eyes wet. She has enough reason to do that. And you can blame yourself for all that has happened. So you see, instead of cheering up his elder brother, Sebastian is being very critical at this stage and is blaming his brother for whatever has happened. Alonso cannot take it, so he says, "Prithee, peace. Please, I pray to you, please be quiet. But Sebastian is not going to be quiet. And he says, you were kneeled to and importuned otherwise by all of us. And the fair soul herself, weighed between loathness and obedience. We all requested you. We pleaded with you. We kneeled before you, and with folded hands we begged you, including the beautiful princess, the fair soul. She herself, she also did not want to go so far away. Okay, as a father, you were doing a good thing. You were marrying off your daughter. But then not so far away. So even if she did not want to go, she had to be obedient. On one hand, she hated going away so far. Loathness means hatred. On the other hand was her obedience. Somewhat similar to Portia's situation in The Merchant of Venice. She would not like to marry any of those 6 princely suitors, but on the other hand, she has to be obedient to her father. So here also the same thing you could say. That the princess did not like the idea that she has to go and marry an African prince. But then at the same time, she had to be obedient because you were her father. We all requested you, but you wouldn't listen. You wouldn't listen. And she was, just like a beam balance. When you hold it up and there are 2 pans, and in one pan there is some weight and on the other there are some items, and you are waiting to see which way the pans tilt, which way the beam balance tilts. So on one hand was hatred, on the other hand was obedience, and she was like, weighing her hatred and her obedience in a beam balance, not able to decide as to which end of the beam it should ultimately bend or tilt. We have lost your son. I fear forever. Milan and Naples have more widows. More means more. Milan and Naples have now more widows in them of this business's making. Because so many mariners, so many sailors, they also have their families. The sailors all died. The ship is gone. None of them survived. So Milan, there were sailors in that ship both from Milan and Naples. And with the death of those sailors, now both Milan and Naples have more widows in them because of all this that has happened. Businesses making. This business means all that has happened. All because of it. Then we bring men to comfort them. The fault's your own. So when the ships return, the rest of the ships have gone back. The royal vessel is destroyed and the rest of the ships in the king's fleet have returned to Milan and Naples. When they reach Milan and Naples, the news will get around. So instead of bringing back the men from the sea to their respective families, we are actually giving them bad news that their husbands have died. So both Milan and Naples are going to have more widows. So we cannot bring them back. We cannot bring the men back. And we cannot let the men go back to Milan and Naples and be united or reunited with their family members to provide them comfort that they are back. They are long gone and now gone forever. So for all this, you are solely responsible. Alonso says, so is the dearest of the loss. So is the dearest of the loss. Yes. The greatest of all losses is the dearest loss that I have suffered. That is also equally so very saddening. He is referring to his son. Gonzalo says, my Lord Sebastian, the truth you speak doth lack some gentleness, and time to speak it in. You rub the sore when you should bring the plaster. Gonzalo is trying to stop Sebastian. My Lord Sebastian, you are speaking some kind of harsh truth. This is not the right time for talking about such things. Instead of being gentle, instead of providing the plaster when somebody has suffered an injury, you are actually rubbing the injury to inflict more and more pain. So that is what you are doing. Please don't speak like this. In other words, he means to say, all these things that you are saying, these are not right things to be said at this moment. Instead of providing verbal comfort, you are criticizing and causing more pain. Please don't do it. Sebastian says, very well. All right then. You have spoken it well. Well said. So Sebastian's remark is actually ironical. It's given alongside, you can see. Antonio says, and most chirurgionly meaning is given, like a surgeon, say with contempt, because surgeons were held much inferior to physicians in Shakespeare's time. So you are speaking like a surgeon instead of speaking like a physician. A physician provides comfort to the patient, but a surgeon performs surgery and inflicts pain. So you are speaking like a surgeon, not like a physician. Gonzalo again tries to change the topic or divert the attention of the king. He says, it is foul weather in us all, good sir, when you are cloudy. He's talking to the king. He says, sir, when you are gloomy, cloudy means gloomy. When your appearance is cloudy or gloomy, the weather becomes foul. The entire atmosphere becomes foul or bad for all of us. We want to see you cheering up. When you are gloomy, we all become sad and gloomy. Please, sir, cheer up. Sebastian immediately comments, foul weather? Antonio says, very foul. So they are actually making ironical comments. So here we stop for the day. We have finished up to page 56, and I have explained the conversation that is taking place where three lords are trying to cheer up the king, and Antonio and Sebastian are trying to criticize the king. So we'll stop here. I hope you have understood. Go through the text, go through the explanations given alongside, and if still you have any doubt, you can once again repeat this video and listen to the areas where I have explained those difficult portions. Thank you very much.